Okay, so today's video is just something that I feel like there is somewhat of a gray area in this sport, and I want to just talk to you guys a little bit about how it works. So if you're looking for a video of me riding with my friends at the skate park or whatever like that, come back on Monday, you'll have a video like that. But today we're going to talk about the whole world of being sponsored. Before I move forward, I want to point out that I've been sponsored many times throughout many years. My first sponsor was acquired when I was 15 years old, which was in 2007, and that was coming up on 15 years ago. I've been sponsored by many companies, including Magyar, Lucky, Phoenix, obviously Scooter Zone, Epic, Envy, Vital, a little more corporate-ish sponsors like food, like restaurant businesses and things like that. I've done all kinds of brand deals. So I've gone through the rounds of being sponsored, and I just want to share my experiences and what I have acquired with you guys so you have a little bit of an idea of what it's like, one, to be sponsored, and what are your requirements, and what should the actual sponsored or the brand be expected of, and what should you feel like you should be experiencing is. I also want to say this is my personal opinion. If you have something that you might have experienced in another way, that's fine. Not every sponsor is exactly the same, some differ, but I think I've come to figure out what a pretty good idea of what should be happening is. So let's talk about a few things that come to people's mind when they hear the word sponsored. A lot of times when people hear the word sponsored, or they hear the word pro or anything like that, one of the very things that comes to their mind is money. Money. What am I gonna get? What comes into my pocket for representing your brand? And let me start by saying this. Nothing. Nothing. Like, if this is your first sponsor and you've never been associated with a brand, you don't deserve to get paid yet. You simply don't. I didn't get my first paycheck from Scootering until I'd been riding for, I think it was over 8 years of promoting Scootering as a whole because I loved Scootering. That's when I actually got my first paycheck. And let me tell you something. It wasn't even just because I was sponsored. It was because we were selling my very first signature wheel with Scooter Zone. That's how I got my first check, and it was $300. And I can't tell you how excited I was, but that took so many years of hard work, riding in every single competition that was coming around, winning a lot of those competitions, and if not winning, getting top 3, filming videos. There was no Instagram or anything like that, so that wasn't a part of it. So you had to film actual edits, edit those things together, post them, and just appreciate what the sport was and what you were able to do on your scooter. That's what it takes. Okay? So don't think that just because this company hits you up, hey, you want to ride for us, you're just gonna get paid. You're not. Okay? So get that idea out of your head. And even then, a lot of these scooter brands can't afford to write these massive checks to people. So for those of you guys that think that a lot of these scooter riders just make $1 million a year, they don't, okay? Like, they make, like, some of them make like a couple $100 a week just because they wanna cruise out and be able to buy food and things like that. Now, that all comes down to like when you're actually a professional, which is not really what we're getting into right now. I'm really just talking more about like smaller sponsorships and kind of what you should be expecting when you're acquiring these first few sponsorships and what you should be expecting when you grow. But money is not going to be a part of it for a while, so get that out of your head. That's something that you're going to experience way later on after you have put in your dues for Scootering. Scootering shouldn't have to pay you right away. That's something that you acquire and you earn. So don't think you're gonna get that right away. You're not. Number 2. Number 2 is something that sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, okay? And that thing, parts, scooter bars, wheels, complete scooters, headsets, bearings, grips, forks, grip tape, decks. Like, there's all kinds of parts that obviously you guys want from these brands when you acquire a sponsorship. Now, sometimes this isn't something that you can just answer like, oh yeah, you're gonna get that, because that has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with really even you. It has everything to do with what the brand has decided they're gonna give their sponsored riders, and if there is like a tier. So a lot of times you've heard these tier sponsorships, right? You have like a flow team, you have an amateur team, you have a pro team. Normally those are like the three that usually brands have. Now there's a lot of different things that there's a lot of different categories that brands do have sometimes. There's like a novice team sometimes. I've heard of that before. There's all kinds of different things. There's all kinds of different classes. Sometimes there's specifically shop riders. Like for example, like let's say like Envy has looked at somebody that rides near Scooter Zone and comes into Scooter Zone all the time, and they decided like, hey, we want to hook this person up because they come in and support your store. That's something that some brands do as well. But when it comes to parts, sometimes brands decide like, yeah, we're gonna give you one free scooter a year, and then after that maybe you're gonna get like a discount, like 30% off, right? Or maybe they're just gonna give you parts all year, or maybe you don't get free parts. Maybe you're just gonna get a big discount, like you're gonna get them at like cost or something like that. Either way, you should be happy about that. If this is your first sponsorship and they're willing to give you parts for a discounted price, or for basically what they pay for it, like they're not gonna really make money off of you unless, like I said, they're giving it to you just at a simple discount or something like that. Regardless, you should be happy because you're being supported by somebody. Like usually they're gonna give you the shirts, they're gonna give you hats, they're gonna give you all that stuff, right? Like your kind of swag and whatnot. But parts, again, that's kind of a spot where it's kind of odd. For my first sponsor, which was way back, which was a sponsor called, well, it was really a team, it was called DXG, but my first real sponsor, like a store, was Scooter Zone, oddly enough. And when I got on Scooter Zone, like there was not very many scooter riders at the time, so getting a full scooter once, I think we did like maybe once a year, like I got a scooter and I just made that scooter last because I loved it and it was something that was new to me and I took care of it. Sometimes that's what people decide to do, and just don't be expected to get a ton of parts right away. That's basically what I'm saying. Normally, they'll give you like a scoot a year. Until you get to a point where you're a pro, then you should be getting parts no matter what. Once you break apart, or once you get to a point to where it's about to get there, it's scratched up, it's dinged up, then yeah, you hit them up, hey bro, I need some parts. And usually they're gonna be like, cool, no worries, what you need, here you go. But that's usually because you've been riding for that brand for so many years or something like that. But you gotta pay your dues first. You gotta show your loyalty to that brand before they're just gonna give you all kinds of free stuff. The next thing that people think about when the word sponsor gets thrown around is travel. Are you gonna be able to cruise around? Are you gonna be able to go to a demo? Are you gonna be able to go fly out to go to this contest that's across the country? That kind of stuff is a gift. Usually the travel stuff starts pretty small, like they're gonna send you to one of your local contests and they're gonna maybe pay for your entry in that contest whether you do super well or not. Like that's I would imagine that kind of falls into either the money category or the travel category. I kind of throw it more in the travel category, but who am I? That can grow to you going on tours and you being able to do demos and you're going to contests that are across the country. But regardless of where you're going, what your job is, and whatnot, that's a gift to you. Okay, you're being gifted the ability to travel, to ride your scooter. Okay, that's awesome. Like if you've gotten to that point, you've done well thus far. You've done more than 95% of scooter riders will ever do, okay? Like let's just say my very first international trip, which I think was probably one of the biggest accomplishments that I've ever had in scootering, and we went to Australia, and I'd wanted to go to Australia forever. And we went out there for a Jammo Jam competition. And unfortunately, that competition got canceled. We weren't ever even able to ride in that contest. And but we got out there, we were like, okay, we have to make the best of this trip. So we filmed videos, we filmed clips, we filmed fails and bails, and that was with Nick Darger and a few other guys from Scooter Zone. And I'll remember that trip for the rest of my life because it was something that I realized like, wow, I'm in an international place just because I'm good at riding my scooter. That's amazing. So if you are able to travel with a brand and they hit you up and they say like, hey, you've been with us for a year, we want to send you across the country to go to this whatever street jam, be thankful because that's awesome and you've done well. Those are three main things that kind of the inexperienced person thinks about when they hear the word sponsorship. Now let me tell you what I believe to be probably the most valuable thing when it comes to getting a sponsorship. And it's not anything you guys are thinking about. It's not money, it's not parts, it's not travel, it's not hopping on a plane and going somewhere. It's nothing like that. It's the resources. Resources. This is the most important and the most valuable thing that you have when you start riding for somebody, is the resources. What do I mean by that? When you get a sponsor and you start riding with these guys and you start hanging out with these people and you start meeting new people within that brand, you start to make friends, those turn into resources. And those things mean you could have possible job opportunities within scootering. That's incredible on its own. You get to whatever it is. Maybe you're riding for this brand and you are a sales guy. I've heard of that happening many times. Or you ride for this brand and now you work in their warehouse and you're helping fulfill orders. Like, that's awesome. Like, that is so cool. Like, that you have a resource there. And it doesn't end there. Like, there's a lot of different valuable information that you can acquire from being sponsored and just hanging around with that sponsor you have. Like, whether it's a store, whether it's a brand. That's usually the two. You're usually sponsored by a scooter store or you're sponsored by a scooter brand like Envy, right? There's a lot of valuable information you can pick up there, like what's going on in the industry. And I learned a lot of that stuff while riding for Scooter Zone, and then I ended up working at Scooter Zone, learning all about what actually happens in the business side of Scooter Zone and Scootering, and now I own Scooter Zone. There was a lot of valuable information that I picked up while riding for Scooter Zone and being in the, not necessarily the driver's seat, but alongside of the driver's seat. And when I started riding for Envy and I started kind of showing that I was really loyal to the brand, and they started sending me around, and I was going into their offices in Australia, going into their offices in the UK, going into their offices here in the US. Like, I started to learn about what goes on, how does it actually work, and that stuff is extremely valuable, because if you want to make a living within scootering, it's not going to be riding. Let me say that again. If you want to make a living within scootering, it's not going to be riding. At least not in the foreseeable future. Maybe in 20 years, maybe in 20 some odd years, somebody will be making $1 million a year riding a scooter. And I really do hope that that's a reality. But as of right now, it is extremely difficult to just go out and just ride your scooter and make $1 million a year. Or even like anything that's gonna really be able to support you, and you're gonna be able to do normal things like buy a house, pay, or whatever the heck, or even just pay rent and be able to pay your electric bill and have a family and be able to support them. Like, those kinds of things are probably not gonna happen if you're just riding a scooter. There's different opportunities that you can have within scootering. Like, for example, brand deals. Like, we'll take Ryan Williams, for example. Ryan rides for Nitro. He doesn't just go to the skate park every day and ride his scooter, post it on Instagram, and get paid. That's not how it works. Ryan, he works extremely hard. He does YouTube. He goes to these Nitro Circus tours, which take up large portions of his life. Does he get to ride his scooter? Yeah, of course he does. But he works hard. And he does all these different brand deals, I'm sure, with people. Like, I know he just did something with Gain Pads. Congratulations, Ryan. That's with this whole R. Willie Land thing. Like, there's things that fall in there that make it able for you to make it, really, when it comes to scootering and or normal everyday life. And there's a lot of resources that you get when you ride for a brand, you want to learn, and you love what you do. That really shows. If you love scootering, you'll learn about it. And if you love scootering, all of this stuff, the travel, the parts, the money, it doesn't matter. If you love scootering, that crap doesn't matter. Scootering is what matters. The resources are things that you can pick up on if you decide to just forget all that other crap. If you want to be a scooter rider, be a scooter rider. Don't worry about getting sponsored right away. Just be a scooter rider. All the other stuff will come around if you love scootering and you want to make it. 98% of you guys that are watching this video are not, you're not going to be a professional scooter rider and be able to make all this, like 98% of you guys. But the 2% of you that really truly do want it, you really want to ride your scooter because you love riding your scooter, you can make something happen. Now let's talk about the actual things that a lot of you guys don't know about being sponsored. What are your jobs for actually being a sponsored rider? we're gonna start with the obvious that everybody pretty much already knows. Promotion. You gotta promote that brand. You gotta post about them on your Instagram. You have to wear those shirts that they give you. You have to wear those hats that they give you. Every time you go to a contest, you gotta be wearing all your stuff. You got to shed bright light on all of those parts that you ride, regardless of what you truly think about them, because you are now a product of that brand, okay? So, if you don't like a part that this brand makes, you can't just go out and be like, oh, it sucks. They're not gonna like that, because you have to promote that brand in a bright light, all right? Some of you guys might not like the sound of that, and I understand, trust me. There's been brands that I rode for previously that made parts that I didn't like. Now, you don't have to say it's the best thing in the entire world, but you can't say it's the worst thing in the entire world. That's what you can't do, okay? Now, that being said, I've been extremely honest with you guys when it comes to the parts that I'm currently riding. Otherwise, I would not be riding them. And I've ridden a lot of parts with Envy, and I'm not saying that any of the Envy parts that I've ridden I hate, okay? But there are some parts with Envy that are not my very favorite part, right? But I don't have to say that they're my favorite part, because you guys know what my favorite stuff is because I'm riding it right now. But there's other parts that I do like, and there's parts that I like. For example, the 1S3, that complete scooter. I love that scooter. I think it's a great scooter. Do I ride it? No, because if I did ride it, I would destroy it, because it's not for a person like me. It's for a younger rider, right? So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. It's not a crap scooter. Like, it's not, I'm just not gonna ride it because I hate it. It's none of that. It's just not for me. That's what I'm talking about. You have to shed bright light on that brand. You have to promote them properly to do your job correctly. I'm gonna make this one pretty short and sweet. I kind of think this is the right term for it, and it is selective posting. What do I mean by that? You can't go on Instagram. Okay, hang on, let me back up a little bit. Some people do this, right? And this doesn't really fall into your sponsorship thing. It kind of falls into how you want to promote yourself. Which I don't have a problem with the way people post. You can post exactly how you want, but sometimes the brand wants you to post a certain way, and they don't want you to post certain things, and you got to agree to those. And that's what comes into selective posting. I'm not a person that goes out and drinks a whole bunch. I'm definitely not going to post about it, because Envy doesn't want me to post about it. They don't want me to be like, oh yeah, I'm riding my scooter lit today. They don't want me to do that, right? So you have to agree to that. You can't just go out and post whatever the heck it is that you want on your Instagram all the time, depending on the brand that you decide to ride for. I'm not gonna go on my Instagram and cuss a whole bunch. I'm not a huge cusser as it is. So when I go on my Instagram and I throw an F-bomb in one of my posts, Envy's gonna be like, hey bro, we don't really want you to do that, all right? And I can't argue the fact. I say, okay, got it. You know why? Because that's what they pay me to do. That's my job. My job is to be the rider that they want me to be, because I am now a product of them, because I signed a contract and I agreed to promote them, and I agreed to accept the parts that they give me and the checks that they write or whatever. And if they do all that stuff for me, I have to do stuff for them in a way that they want me to, because I'm somewhat of an employee, okay? So, selective posting, that's a big one. I would like to think that this one isn't something that I have to explain to you guys, but I think it is, because sometimes people get confused on this, which I don't understand, but hey, it is what it is. You have to ride, okay? You have to ride. You don't have a choice. If somebody's sponsoring you and they're paying you, and if they're giving you parts, by the way, that's a form of payment, okay? It's not money, but it is a form of payment where you're giving you this to do this job. That's a form of payment, okay? And if they're paying you to do something, you have to do that job. You have to ride, okay? Now, I've seen a lot of people like that quit during this term with the sponsor. Like, let's say they signed a contract for a year. They're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna ride for you for a year. And they quit because they don't wanna ride anymore. You can't do that, okay? That you signed a contract. And if that brand decides to come after you, which usually they don't, but they really wanted to be jerks about it, they could, because you have a job to do. You don't wanna ride? Too bad. You gotta ride. You have to do that job. You have a job now, okay? You wanted to be sponsored? You're sponsored. You better ride. You better do your job, okay? That's an easy one, I would think. I don't really have to get into it that far, but you have to ride. Period. This one is hard, okay? I'm gonna point this one out. This one's not easy. This one takes some time, takes a lot of practice, but it can make you or break you. You can be the best rider in the entire world, but if you don't have the ability to hold a conversation, if you can't talk to people, if you win a contest and somebody comes up and says, how do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel about your run? How do you feel you did? How do you feel? You just won a contest and you say, good. You look like an idiot. You look stupid. Say something, bro. Say something. You just won a contest. They want to hear, how do you feel your run went? How do you feel right now? What are the emotions that are going through your entire body right now? Are you numb? What's going on? What's going on in your mind? Talk to them. If you can't hold that conversation, good luck. If somebody sits down to talk to you like, hey, we want to give you this, and you say, okay, you have nothing else to say? Like, nothing? I mean, that can be a good thing for the other person, but if you can't talk to people, it's going to be kind of weird, because they want you to be able to go around the skate parks and be like, hey, let me tell you a little bit about this deck. Let me tell you a little bit about these grips. Or if somebody says, like, how do you like that deck? And it's a deck that you're riding up from your sponsor, and you say, yeah, it's cool. That's it? And then they don't have anything else to say about it? Like, that's all you got? You better learn to talk to people. Like, yeah, man, like, this deck is pretty sick. Like, I like kind of the dimensions on it. The color, I think, is really, really nice. The head tube angle, like, I like the fact that it's an 83 versus an 82.5 or whatever. Like, you can say anything you want. There's a million things you could say about that scooter deck, and if you just say it's cool because you don't know how to talk to people, that's a problem. Learn how to talk to people. Go practice. You can practice that anywhere. Go in a gas station to buy a drink, and if somebody says something, hey, how's your day going? Tell them, and then ask them back, how's your day going? All right? That stuff you got to practice it. Like, this whole talking in front of a camera thing, it's not something that I just picked up. It took me a lot of time, took a lot of practice. It took me going into Walmart, holding my camera to pick up things, and I got to accept the fact that people want to talk to me about why do I have a camera in my hand, especially like a massive 1DX Mark II. That thing is massive. Of course, people are going to come up and they're going to talk to me about it, and I got to learn how to talk back. But that's something you got to learn. You go to a talk show, like let's say you get you land a massive talk show. Ellen wants you to come on her show because you're doing incredible in the scooter world. You have incredible talent, and you go on this talk show and you look stupid. That's not very good. One, you're not shedding a very good light on your sponsor. One, you're not shedding a very good light on yourself. And three, you're not really shedding that good a light on the sport as a whole. Because now, all these people that are watching this one episode of whatever the talk show is, Ellen, Jimmy Fallon, like, it doesn't matter, a podcast, they're watching this entire episode based on you, or this entire segment based on you, and you say nothing, they're going to be like, oh, well, these scooter riders don't really know how to say anything. That's a problem. You got to be able to talk, okay? Now, that's kind of all I got for you guys right now. If you guys have any questions about being sponsored, or you want me to make another segment about this and talk a little bit more deeply about it, which I think I covered kind of most of the things that I've experienced myself. But if you guys have a question, let me know in the comments below. Work hard. That's kind of what it comes down to. You got to be able to work hard. You got to be willing to work hard for your sponsor, and you got to love scootering. That's what sponsorship is about. Love scootering, love what you do, and be willing to express yourself in a certain way, all right? And be willing to grow scootering. You gotta love scootering enough to help it grow before it's gonna help you grow, all right? You gotta water that seed before it grows. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it sheds a little bit of light on kind of what it's like to be a sponsored rider, and that's being a sponsored rider will grow into you being a professional rider one day if that's what you want and you're willing to work for it. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate you. Until next time, I'm out of here. Later.